Oh, you'll find him in the office, Mrs. Ogden, brewing up.
Oh, well, that's funny. Funny peculiar.
Aye.
Can't even stir his own tea at home. Here, he's the head chef.
Different beast altogether, Mrs. Ogden.
What is?
A man at work and the same chap at home. Unrecognisable, in fact.
There you are, Jerry. Measure to the last leaf, I'll tell you.
Ah, good lad.
Like piece of cake.
Ah, go on.
I see what you mean. Here, have you asked him yet?
Well, I haven't had the opportunity yet, have I?
Oh, look, you don't need an opportunity to ask Len Fairclough, can I have the day off Wednesday, 2nd of February? All you need is 2 seconds.
I said I'd ask him today, didn't I?
Oh, I know you said. But if you'd done all the things you said you would in your lifetime, Stanley Ogden, you wouldn't be the head cook and bottle washer in a builder's yard. You'd be changing your motor cars like you change your vest. Oftener, in fact. I'll give you till dinner time.
Women.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Stan?
Go ahead.
Since when has it been necessary for you to ask for a day off? I mean, you usually just take them.
Well, I had to make it official, didn't I?
Aye. You know what I think, Stan?
What?
I think that you're trying to worm your way out of taking your missus for a birthday treat like you promised her you would.
Hey, that's an insult to me, isn't it? Would I go back on a promise? Me?
No, I'm telling you, it's perfectly true. Our mayor gets up after being wined and dined by the entire Fleetwood Corporation. He says, I've always liked Fleetwood. It's a very good jumping-off place for the Isle of Man.
Who decides who stands for council, Alf? I mean, we get some right toffee apples on ours, don't we?
You mind?
Local councils are just businessmen's clubs, darling. Everybody quietly feathering their own nests.
Well, I'm just a post office worker, Billy.
Yeah, but another 10 years and you'll have a solid gold watch and chain to go with that belly.
And there's no need to be offensive. Who do you think would drive your buses for you? Rebuild your roads?
Aye, pull your pint pots. Aren't you two drinking?
Empty your dustbins, not to mention build your houses, your schools, your community centres.
You build nothing, you just natter about it. It's the officials who actually do the building. You're just so much excess baggage. And here's another one of them. You know, Len Fairclough has never looked so prosperous since he became a councillor.
It's true,
Right, mate, you've asked for it. Why local councils? Reason 1 out of 500 reasons. You elect them. You choose who runs your own town, not some pasty-faced little bureaucrat in London or some power-mad politician.
I'll get you a bitter. You must be thirsty after that speech.
Yeah. Reason number 2.
You know further on.
Well, you didn't really expect I would be, did you? I mean, one thing about Alan, when he wants to keep a secret, he can do.
You could ask him straight out.
I could.
Tell him. But I wouldn't if I were you.
No. Oh, I suppose it's none of a wife's business, is it, what goes on at work? Like where he laid his hands on £2,500.
Unless he tells her.
Yeah. Which Alan isn't doing and is showing no intentions of doing.
Then he must have a very good reason.
Oh, come off it, Len. What very good reason?
To stop you worrying, for one thing.
Yeah, that's just what I am doing, because he isn't telling me. Well, you know how daft he can be about money. I mean, for all we know, he could have gone to some sharp moneylender or something.
No, he wouldn't be that daft.
Nearly was last time, wasn't he? Well, nearly.
I'd still let him come out with it to you, you know. Don't force it out of him. He might be just waiting to spring it on you when he's made a success of the garage, he's paid the money back, and he's in a position to swank about it.
I don't think I can wait that long.
Sir?
Yep.
How old are you, sir? She says she bets you're 30. I don't think you're that old.
You, Charlie, are dead right. I have just gone 21 and I've still got all my own teeth.
Oh, come on, lad. Take a few. Won't keep you a second.
Right.
My union subs. Mustn't forget to pay them. Up the workers and all that.
Oh, yes, the class struggle isn't over by a long chalk.
Oh, indeed. Oh, yes, I sent for you, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
It's Mrs. Bates again. Called in here to lay down the law about teachers interfering with hearth and home. Or to be precise, you're interfering with her hearth and home.
Yes, violent, was she?
Well, I've known worse.
Well, at least it means that Terry passed on the little homily that I delivered him.
With embellishments.
Oh.
It appears that his mother says that you said he was being treated like some sort of child slave, running the household virtually single-handed.
Well, all I said was that his household chores shouldn't tire him out for school.
And I've no doubt that's exactly what you did say.
But her version's different, is it? Well, I don't really mind. If it stirred her to come running round here, it must have had some effect. But any effect is better than none.
Well, I'd argue about the logic of that with you, lad.
What, you
If
mean
it wasn't completely irrelevant to this case.
You mean you don't think she was stirred?
Stirred, yes. Affected, no.
Oh, that's a bit defeatist, if you don't mind me saying so. I mean, we've seen signs that she's trying to mend his ways. He was early yesterday, you saw for yourself.
Today?
5 minutes late.
One early arrival doesn't constitute schoolboy punctuality. Oh, I'm afraid, Kenneth, your years in the rarefied atmosphere of a technical college have softened you up. Blunted the natural tendency that we teachers have at our level to be suspicious of the species parent.
Well, obviously. All right, well, I'll observe him for the next few days, and if there's no improvement, I'll have another go at Mrs. Bates via Terry.
What, another storm in here again? Oh, no, please, spare me that, lad. I've enough burden on my shoulders without you adding to them.
You want me to let the matter drop? Let him remain half asleep at school, a part-time pupil?
No, it's not as bad as all that, is it?
Well, not quite.
Well, then, let's just say that I'd rather not see Mrs. Bates again. I don't even like the woman.
But I'm trying to protect a young and lively mind.
Sounds as if we're working up to our issue again, lad. Well, apart from the fact that I don't like issues, you've not been here long enough to indulge yourself like that.
So you'd agree there's a job there to be done, then?
I've never denied that.
Well, who do you think could do it if the likes of Len and me didn't volunteer?
I keep telling you, leave it to the professionals. I mean, why does it need 20 of you lot to decide that Bessie Street needs resurfacing when Borough Surveyor could decide that for himself?
Government of the people, by the people. Democracy, mate.
Yeah, well, I just don't fancy somebody like old Joe Snape, who everybody knows is as thick as this bar top, deciding how hundreds of thousands of pounds should be spent.
Well, you put him on the council.
No, I didn't. I never vote in local elections.
Well, then you've got no right to complain if you get somebody like Joe Snape on the council, have you?
Sorry to interrupt the big debate, but Councillor Roberts' presence is requested in the snug.
Oh, it's not.
Mr. Tatlock and Mrs. Caldwell.
And I'll tell you something else and all. If MPs are worth £4.5 grand, we're worth 10. Even Joe Snape.
We're not very busy, are we?
Well, we could do with a couple of coachloads of Russians all drinking Bloody Marys. Still, we have got Marlena Bloody Dietrich over there.
She looks well when she's in repose, doesn't she? I tend to look a bit like a bucket.
You know, I do admire an honest woman.
I'm sidling over to the snug, watching Alf Roberts suffer will pass half an hour on.
How's the gaffer then? Making his fortune, is he?
Oh, he's fine.
Sooner him than me.
Hmm?
Well, up to his neck in sump oil all day.
Doesn't seem to mind.
Well, I'd rather be without it.
Billy,
Yeah?
Alan was very lucky managing to get that money to buy you out, wasn't he?
Dead lucky.
Did you ever find out where he got it from?
No, I wasn't that interested.
But you can't expect the council to do that, Albert.
And why not?
Because it's ridiculous.
Look, me and her live in our own houses, don't we?
Yeah.
Not council-subsidised old folks' houses.
No.
Well, we reckon that what we save you, we ought to take in bags of coal.
Well, are you short of coal or something?
Yeah, of course we are.
Well, I'm not, and Ina's not.
Well, I am.
Well, only because you cut your nose off to spite your face.
Well, how's he done that, Mrs. Caldwell?
Well, he had the idea that we could save fuel if we shared fires and cooking on Sundays.
That's a very good idea, is that?
But what he meant was that he shared our fires and our cooking. We've been to my house twice and Ina's twice. Now, when we mentioned it to him, all he did was turn up like he always does.
And now he wants the council to keep his fire going. Flipping typical, Albert.
Oh, but I agree with him in that, Mr. Roberts.
You do?
Oh, and not living in council houses. We don't need prenatal clinics either, do we?
There's no answer to that, is there, Alf?
Well, look, it's plain he'll not be coming, Mrs. Ogden.
I'll give him another 2 minutes.
Look, and he hasn't had a word with Mr. Fairclough about a day off neither.
How do you know he hasn't?
Well, because they haven't seen one another.
Oh, well, why couldn't you said that in the first place, instead of having me sitting here? I mean, if he's not seen land to ask, he couldn't ask, could he?
Oh, that's true enough.
But what?
What, nothing?
Oh, come on, Jerry Booth, your face is open plan. What do you know that I should?
Nothing.
Another thing you could have said this morning about fellas at work, they stick together.
Oh, it's all part of it, isn't it?
Part of what?
Well, being fellas at work.
You made make it sound like some sort of secret society.
Oh, it is, Mrs. Ogden, it is.
Ah, well, I've got news for you. Your particular secret society is about to be what the newspapers call infiltrated. There's some of that big knout of pounds not letting on about.
Oh, it's better than a blood transfusion, that, I'll tell you.
It's what makes this job worthwhile, Stanley. Catering for customers like you.
Well, why can't folk begin tell me what they've got instead of all this want all the time, eh?
Save a lot of trouble and strife, Stan.
You're telling me, kid. Cheers.
Cheers, love.
Tis you underneath there, isn't it?
Ah! Recognised me by my trendy socks, did you?
Yeah, well, you've got them on inside out. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Have I? I never know when I've got socks on inside out. How can you tell?
Well, it's something we women know about.
Ah, you come to take me to eat?
No.
Well, that's honest anyway.
To tell you the truth, I'm not all that hungry.
Well, I am. I'm starving.
Eh?
It's all right. I remember about the diet. Hey, how long do you say it took you to lose that half stone?
A fortnight.
That's a bit drastic, isn't it?
Dangerous. I
think I'll just cool it. I'd sooner die of thrombosis than dehydration.
Yeah, why not?
Pint at the Rovers, then. Do you fancy a drink?
No, I think it's time for me to be getting off to work.
That's the advantage of being your own boss, you see. You come back in your own good time.
Alan?
Yeah?
You're not one of those fellows who think it's no business of their wives what they do at work, are you?
No, certainly not. I think you'd be bored stiff if I described in detail what happens here every day.
And I'm not talking about how many half shafts you mend per week.
What are you talking about?
Where did you get the money from to buy Billy out?
I've told you.
Tell me again.
Now, what is this, Elsie? You sound like somebody trying to prove something.
I am. That you lied to me. Again.
Oh, Mr. Howard. Glad I've caught you. I've come to pay me debts.
Ah, yes, Mr. Marsh.
I was just passing. I thought it's time I settled up with Mr. Howard.
Uh-huh.
Marvellous job you did on old Annie. Well, that's the wife's pet name for the car. Never ran better in her life.
Well, come inside, please, will you?
Garages of this standard are few and far between, you
I'll
know.
be back in a minute.
One glass of tomato juice. Of course, you can always have a vodka in it. It won't smell your breath.
You don't know the head. I'm seriously considering sucking a peppermint so he won't smell of tomato juice. Only hope there's no parents in here to report on me.
Well, you can always put a false moustache on. I'll come round to the back door.
Come here, matter, Alf. You used to say how are things at Sing Sing when I meet you. You haven't said it today.
He is suffering from what they call on telly overexposure, but not as a comic in this case, as a counsellor. Or is it the same thing?
It's not even my flaming ward.
Oh, well, the old army motto of not volunteering for the out applies in Civvy Street, I'll tell you. The only thing I volunteer for is taking the empties back.
There's not wrong at Mrs. Street, is there?
Well, nothing to worry the Education Committee about. Not as yet.
I know what you remind me of, Al. A St Bernard what don't know where its next snowdrift coming from.
Oh, sure.
No, I think you're lovely, really. But talking about folk looking miserable, why has your Hilda just crept in and sat at that table, Stan?
Well, there you are, Mr. Marsh. And thank you very much. I only wish all my customers paid up as promptly.
Well, the working man gets paid promptly enough, doesn't he? So why shouldn't the businessman, eh?
Fair enough.
Especially when he's done a good job. Cheerio.
Bye-bye, Mr. Marsh. Thank you. Well, another satisfied customer.
Yeah.
It's sort of a warm feeling inside, you know, when the customer goes away with a smile on his face.
Must do. Well, Alan.
All right, Elsie, I told you a fib.
You didn't borrow the money from your accountant.
Not exactly, no.
Well, did you or didn't you?
No.
Well, I don't call that a fib. I call it a downright lie.
Oh, come on, Elsie. Don't be so prim and proper. It's a fib by anybody's standards, and certainly by business standards.
What business standards? What are they? I'm an employee, you know, not a boss.
All right, Elsie. I didn't borrow the money from my accountant, but I borrowed it from a similar source.
What similar source?
A business source.
Well, why didn't you say so before?
I did.
You didn't. You said that you borrowed it from your accountant, and you never did.
I simply mentioned him because I thought he was a name that you would know.
I would know?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Well, come on, let's have that pie in a pint.
Alan, you sure I wouldn't know, what did you call it? This similar source that you mentioned?
Yes.
Well, I might.
Well, you wouldn't, Elsie.
How do you know?
Well, I know, love. Take it from me.
Alan, you've not done anything daft, have you?
Now, what do you mean, daft?
Well, like taking out a second mortgage or something. You know, I was only reading in the papers about them the other day, and they can skin you alive.
No, I haven't taken out a second mortgage because in the first place I haven't taken out a first mortgage.
You just borrowed the money?
Yes.
From a business source?
Yes.
What business source?
Now, look, Elsie, you're obviously determined to make something of this. All right, so will I. Now, I borrowed this money from a proper business source, on proper terms. That's all you're going to hear about.
Look, Alan, I'm your wife. I'm entitled to know something.
Yes, but not everything, Elsie. I'm still Alan Howard, you know, not Mr. Elsie Howard. Now, I've never believed that a man and woman should live in each other's pockets even when they are married.
You were perfectly willing to live in my pocket when you went bankrupt. You were perfectly willing to live in my flaming purse as well. I'm
bitch.
sorry. I didn't mean it. I said I'm sorry.
I'll say it once again. I borrowed this money from a reputable business source at very good terms to benefit you and to benefit me. Now, that's the last word I want to hear on the subject. The very last word.
You know, I'm convinced that he's trying to worm his way out of taking his missus for a birthday treat.
I wonder what Hilda ever saw in Oggy to marry him, I mean.
At least there's one thing. They can never spoil another couple.
Aye, there is that. She must have seen something in him, though. I wonder if it was the rakish way he wore his gaiters.
Rakish, Stanley? It's like saying a tar boiler's rakish. Hey, up here comes the Oggy now. You're a bit late back, aren't you, mate?
Oh, now, be fair. I mean, he's only half an hour late. That's not bad for a fellow who tells the time by the moon.
Well, I'm sorry I'm late, but I ran into a bit of trouble, you know.
Hilda?
Was the bit of trouble, Hilda?
Oh, no, I've no trouble with our Hilda, no.
Well, it's grand to know that you're boss at home, Stan.
Oh, yeah. Look, about next week.
What about next week?
Well, I mean, we've been busy this week, haven't we? We might be busy next week, like, you know.
I've been busy this week.
Me too.
Well, I've been busy.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it,
Me
Stanley.
too.
Well, I mean, if we're busy, there's no point in asking for a day off, is there?
A day off? What for?
Oh, no, it's special.
Hey. How loyal can you get, eh? Lent, you know what Stan's trying to say, don't you?
No.
Well, Stanley's trying to say that he's worked that hard this week that he wouldn't mind a bit of a break next week, but if we're busy, he'll soldier on.
I couldn't put it better myself.
Ah, now what do you say to a fella like that?
Words fail me.
Well, I want to pull me weight, you know.
I don't think we could, though, do you?
No, not at this time of life.
Not with his glass back.
Oh, my back's all right.
What day do you want, then?
February 2nd.
Take it.
With our blessing.
But I don't...
I'll always remember this
We'll
day.
cherish it.
Blog off.
Right, I'm going to give some homework tonight. Yes, I thought you'd like that. I thought that would go down well. Your brains, you see, are rather like machines. The more they use, the more smoothly they run. So I think what we can do is progress paper number 15 on vocabulary. That'll only take you about 15 minutes. Oh, by the way, anybody know what vocabulary means? Terry?
Words, sir.
It does indeed. Words. The currency of communication. Ah, and with that little snippet of wisdom, we'll call it a day. Now, thank you very much for keeping awake. Well, most of you anyway. Okay, off you go, and good night. Good night. Terry?
Sir?
Give this to your mother, will you? And don't forget.
I got a good memory, sir. I can remember 8 things at once when Mum said to shop him.
Well, you've had plenty of practice, haven't you?
It's a hard life, sir.
Yes, it is. Good night.
Night, sir. Hey, what did Barlam want you for? Mind your own business, pickle face. You shouldn't have wanted that if it was to be Mum. Mr. Barlam wants to see her. She'll go crackers.
Right, come on, off home, you two.
Good night, sir.
Good night, good night. And Terry, don't forget that note.
Sir.
All right.
I'm going to take the van round to Alan's. It's been missing all day. I think I might get in before he goes.
Yeah, what do you want for your tea, then?
Hey, haven't we got half a dozen kippers there? Them that Ray got off that bird he chats up on
All
Berry
right, well, I'll
Market.
drill them. I'm very partial to a kipper.
Put a bit of best butter on
Oh,
mine.
you'll be lucky.
Hey, you got a couple of customers here.
Hey, look at you, we want to see.
I'm not in.
Oh, don't tell me that your door's been sticking again, Mr. Tatlock.
Yes, it has, but we weren't going to mention it. I mean, what's the point? You've tried to mention it 3 times.
Oh, now, don't take it out of Jerry just because Mr. Fairclough wouldn't stop and talk to us. Perhaps Jerry could speak to him.
What, to twist his arm, you mean?
Well, persuade him.
And persuade him to do what?
Well, it's like this,
We
you
see,
see.
we hardly use the council services. We never ride on the buses because we got nowhere to go. And it doesn't take much to empty our dustbins because we've nothing much to put in them.
Look, do you mind if I say something?
Oh, please do. It was your idea.
Well, look, we live in our own houses and all, not these council-maintained old folks' houses.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, I might be a bit thick, but what's all this leading up to?
Well, we should get something instead, shouldn't we?
Well, like free fuel, for instance.
Oh, well, it does sound logic, the way you
Of
put
course it's
it.
logic.
Well, could you speak to Mr. Fairclough for us? We have already approached Councillor Roberts.
But you're tilting at windmills, aren't you, Mrs. Caldwell?
But you said it were logical.
I bet the councils haven't got enough money to pay for the services they already provide.
Yeah, for young.
Yes, and they don't give us free orange juice.
No, and I like orange juice.
No, rates and rents are sky high, and as for 'em dishing out free fuel, I'm sorry you've no chance.
It's all the same, isn't it? Us old uns, we're all a slastic queue.
Look, I know that, and I'm very sorry, but
Oh,
there's
it's not good enough to be sorry, Jerry. How would you like to have to share your fire with somebody because you can't afford to have two going? Oh, it's terrible to be old and poor. And the worst thing of it all is that it's never going to get any better. Never. Come on, Albert.
All right, Hilda, I give up. Where is Stan taking you for your birthday?
Oh, go on, have one more guess.
Well, I've said Blackpool, not End and Glass and Dock.
Trouble with you got common taste.
Well, I give up, I said.
I know. He's going to show you the crossroads where they hanged his granddad.
Oh, well, if you want to be like that.
Sorry, Hilda.
Oh, please tell us, Hilda, then we can get back to discussing stock market.
Only Paris, that's all.
Paris?
Is that right, Stan?
Right.
Of course it's right. Why shouldn't he take me to Paris? I wore one of them double crosses during the war.
The Cross of Lorraine. My mother had it off what she called a free Frenchman.
I found mine on a 62 bus. Went very well on my blouse, and I've been very fond of France ever since.
But I thought you were going on a day trip, Stanley.
Yeah, we are.
Then you'll be flying.
Yeah, maybe in a jumbo jet.
But I thought Stanley didn't like flying.
I don't.
He's doing it just for me. How's that for an husband, eh?
Good. Still, you know what they say, don't you, Stanley? Hey? What goes up must come down.
Oh, very funny.
Never mind. If your parachute doesn't open, they'll refund your money.
Give us half an there, love, will you? Flipping comedian, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm a philosopher, mate. You know, I believe that fear is nature's way of preventing you from doing yourself a mischief.
You mean there's something in me that could be...
Could be, Stanley. Could very well be.
Take no notice of him, Chuck. He's pulling your leg.
Of course he is. You go and enjoy yourself, Stanley.
Ah, but supposing he's right.
Gin and tonic. You're having your ration today, aren't you, Elsie?
Yeah, well, sometimes you need it, don't you?
Yeah. Look, there's nothing funny about where Alan got that money, is it? I mean, I'm not trying to be nosy. It's just that I just want to make sure it's good, you know.
He got it from a business source. Now, would you make that a double gin, please?
Yeah, sure.
You'll have a look at it for me, will you?
Well, seeing it's you, yeah.
I see you've cracked it with parks and cemeteries.
Yes, I'm hoping to get some more work there.
Can't be bad.
I'm not complaining. Oh, crikey.
I'll get it.
Would you?
Hello? No, he's under a van at the minute. No, it's Lent Fairclough. Yes, I'll tell him. Yeah, fine, yeah. Ta-da.
Who was it?
Your ex-wife.
What did you want?
To see you. Tonight. She said don't let him forget. It sounded like an order.
It's all right, Lem. There's nothing going on. I'm not keeping two homes. I just happen to be a little in her debt, that's all.
If you say so.
Where else would I go and borrow £2,500?